So I really enjoyed Gameshakers as a kid, and I still think it's probably one of the funniest Nickelodeon shows. Some humor misses, and I do think it's a bit weird that one of the characters is named Babe, especially with Dan Schneider's history. This is probably going to be one of the last Nickelodeon shows I watch. I won't say that for sure, but probably. Um, I think it's a really enjoyable show. The first episode is about Skywhale. They create a game guide Skywhale, you know, fun episode. I used to play some of the games as a kid because the show came out around the time I was in middle school and probably was one of the last kid shows I watched as myself, not because, oh, the twins are watching TV, my little brothers, and I'm going to watch it with them. Um, this was a show that I watched on my own, and I really enjoyed it as a kid. I played several of their games like Skywhale, Llama Llama Spit Spit, and a few others. Llama Llama Spit Spit and Skywhale were honestly the only ones that I really enjoyed, and it really sucks that they were taken off the App Store. I never really cared for one that will be talked about later. Episode 3, Double G, who, by the way, is played by the same guy that plays Ed in Good Burger. It's just crazy to me because I feel like I grew up on Gameshakers more than I did Good Burger, so he's more recognizable as Double G than he ever will be as Ed, even though I like Good Burger a lot. But the third episode is Double G promises a new game, but the Gameshakers haven't even started on it. So they have to rush to make it, and the game is terrible. But they end up combining it with another game they were working on, and it's fun. Pretty generic episode. The fourth episode is about a lost jacket, where Babe buys a new expensive jacket with a bonus she got, and she ends up losing it. There is a reference in this in this episode, where they fucking have Gibby's head, that little plastic head that he got in iCarly, in the background in the Lost and Found, which I thought was cool. Helen from Drake and Josh also appears, and Marty Bennett from Victorious has an episode where he plays himself, Marty Bennett. He doesn't play his character from Victorious, and there's a joke in the credits where he gets ran over by Rex. Kinsey ends up buying a new jacket for her with her bonus. And I think there's a fair introduced at one point, and then she ends up they just write it out the show. Dirty Blob is, I believe, a real game that they made in episode 5. I don't think I ever played it. They destroyed a copy of the game, and they have to make it again. Just a pretty generic episode. Episode 5 is about Migo the robot. It's probably my favorite episode of season 1. It's this robot that just becomes obsessed with Hudson and tries to kill Triple G. And Double G ends up throwing him off the roof and trying to say that he fell off. But then they're like, we're going to check the security camera footage. And he destroys the camera. Trip steals the jet. Episode 7. He's trying to impress his rich friends and doesn't go well because his friend Hudson just keeps messing up, and Triple G ends up quitting being friends with them. Episode 8 is about how Double G has this Halloween tradition of scaring Triple G, and the Gameshakers try and help get back at him. But they end up kind of failing to do that. Episode 9 is about how Triple G isn't allowed on the subway. And they need to go on the subway, though. And he almost gets in trouble from his dad about that. Throughout the rest of the show, he just rides the subway. But I did think it was cool that for the first 8 episodes, we never see Triple G on the subway. Pretty cool continuity. Number Episode 10 is You Bet Your Bunny, which we see Kenzie's ferret, I believe, for a second time. I'm not sure. Um, the Gameshakers host a tournament to promote a new Skywell update. And it's just kind of a little competition, too, where people are playing the Gameshakers at Skywell. Paramount doesn't have episode 11 for some reason. I don't know why it was removed, but it's not here. Um, so I didn't watch that one. Episode 12, Babe and Kenzie's plan to hang out with cool guy Mason. It's um just kind of a generic episode. It's like, hey, look at this weird girl, but they have to hang out with her because Babe wants to hang out with Mason. Episode 13 is about how this guy gets sick after eating a pie, and the Gameshakers get accused of poisoning him, but it turns out it was just like his weird assistant had did it because he was, I don't even remember what he did, but he like put something that shouldn't have went somewhere else. Episode 14's Nasty Goats, I believe that was a real game too. I didn't really play that one. And this kid steals a Gameshakers game and uploads it without their permission and starts making a bunch of money. And they end up convincing him to, give him their game back after threatening him with violence. Episode 15 is about how Double G wants to work with a singer from his childhood, but she ends up not being a good singer anymore, and that's the joke. Episode 16's the Girl Power Awards is just kind of dumb. It's about how Babe and Kenzie won an award for being like cool girls or something. So Triple G and Hudson decide that it's sexist that they don't have an award, and they dress up as girls to try and win one. And it turns out that the awards are fake and just made by some kids that want to meet girls. Episode 17 is about the diss track where Double G gets into beef with some guy, but everything works out in the end because he saves his dog. Episode 18 is the shark explosion. We finally meet Triple G's mom, who has been referenced throughout the show. It's a solid episode. I did like that Double G was thrown back into the water. Babe's fake disease. Babe ends up having a crush on this random kid that is friends with Kenzie when she already has like this reoccurring crush on Mason throughout the show, which I felt was weird that they kind of delved away from that for a little bit. But it's no big issue, but just very strange because usually when you have a reoccurring crush, they don't, go to a different love interest until they get rid of that plot line. But Mason is still shown to be her crush like a few episodes later. So they pretend that Babe is has this sleep fighting disease, and she beats up Kenzie and stuff. There's also a side plot with Triple G being afraid of balding. Episode 20 is about how Hudson accidentally breaks a finger off a mummy. It's a okay episode. Number 21's Buck the Magic Rat. This is when they ride out the ferret because they want to give Kenzie a new pet. And there's this rat that's like super lucky. It's a pretty fun episode. They get a deal with this game company guy, and they end up not getting the deal because she gets rid of the rat, and now he's changed his mind because the rat was the only reason he gave him the game. Episode 22 is about how Triple G replaces this guy who's apparently one of the best gamers in the world, and he ends up getting too busy and not wanting the job anymore, so he just creates controversy by beating up Hudson to get out of having to work for him. The crazy thing is, he bites off Hudson's real ear, even though he was supposed to bite off Hudson's fake ear. Episode 23 is about how there's a secret level of sky whale that Hudson tweeted about, but it's actually not a real thing. Hudson made it up, and they have to now make an actual secret level of sky whale. Well, actually, it wasn't sky whale, it was Octopi, the game, which was a game that I used to play a little bit, but I just didn't like it. It's just an octopus delivering pizzas. I didn't think it was that creative of a game. Mason returns on this episode and agrees to go on a date with Babe and tries to take her to a football game and gets her some like really good seats, but soon as he finds out that there's a secret level, he ditches her. And that is season 1.